guess, the first thing is I'll start with about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I went to the IT Expo show in Las Vegas for 4 days, and I just returned from 4 days of the Channel Partners Cloud show in Chicago. And, when we look at what's happening with cloud and how, what is cloud and the movement that's occurring there is that it's moving at a pretty accelerated rate. Gathered a lot of information, took a lot of information back with us, and we're deciphering, trying to go through that. But there was one thing that really stood out is the keynote speaker at Channel Partners was with Gartner, and Janice did that presentation. I'm in the process of getting her slides so we can share it with the TAG organization. But there was a real critical aspect that I've never heard before, first time I've heard it, and Gartner is saying that, we cannot sell to IT departments. Avoid the IT departments and cloud services. And they gave us 5 different entities to go sell to. One was HR, one was the CFO, another one is the Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing, the Vice President of the company, and the senior CEO of a company is where this has to go into. And this is after we had started our process of starting out with executive technology briefing. And we start with that and say, we don't want to call it lunch and learn because everybody calls it lunch and learn. And the other thing is that I don't want people just coming to this thing because it's a free lunch. It's an executive technology briefing, which immediately puts it into senior management of the company. And it says, join us for lunch provided by VoiceSmart Networks at Sabika. And Sabika is a very well-known restaurant here in San Diego in the Del Mar area, sort of a local area. Has a particular room that allows us to bring in about 15 people very, very comfortably. And it says, find out what your IT guy won't tell you about cloud that you need to know. And that's sort of the premise that we're going, is saying, hey, this is an educational program, but you need to know about the cloud, and you need to know about it from somebody other than your IT department, because your IT department will not tell you about this. So it sets up that precedent. So the people that got invited to this, we had 10 companies, of which 9 actually showed up. And there was 5 of our existing customers and 4 potential new customers. And we made the phone calls first, talked to customers, and what we did was we used a tag marketing program, and I used like the barking dog, and I used all kinds of advertising that was associated with cloud services and the data side of the organization. And I looked at how many people were opening, and those are the first people we start calling on and saying, hey, we're going to be doing executive technology on cloud services. Would you have any interest? So that sort of propelled people saying, yeah, because I was calling companies that I know were looking at our ads regarding cloud, looking at our ads regarding MSP, and looking at our ads talking about things. So we started 2 months prior to this date of August 22nd. 2 months we started to filter out and start building what customers were going to come to this. So the 5 customers that are existing customers came from that marketing program. And of those 5, 2 of them, we are presenting new proposals and contracts to them. One has already given us a verbal on spinning up a server on a virtual basis. And the other one is that it's a full cloud service, full help desk, full data backup and so forth. And it was pretty decent. The other 2 transactions that we have is one is Gatto, which is an accounting firm. And Gatto is a company that we tried to sell a phone system to, and were unsuccessful in that they felt they just want to leave their Toshiba alone. They had moved to a cloud service that they were having a lot of challenges with, so they were anxious to come to this particular briefing. They came to the briefing, and just yesterday we went back down to them, and it's our second meeting with them to gather information, and we're presenting them a full cloud services, and I think we have a real good opportunity of being able to secure this transaction. So we feel that we should pick up about $5,000 a month in recurring revenue as a result of this first transaction. We have our second program just like this that's going out, that we schedule now for October 15th, and that's up in the Ventura area where our real base is basically located. And we've expanded the size. We're trying to go to maybe 15 or 20 companies versus 10 companies. And because we have the ability, we think, to understand the process and what we're doing. So we learned a lot on the first one. So we make the calls, get a commitment from somebody. We then send this invite and make sure that they reply to it. And then we called and confirmed. And then the other thing that we did, as soon as they confirmed, we sent them a Microsoft Outlook appointment that we saw that they accepted. It was in their calendar. And when they went to their calendar, it gave the time, the date, the location, and a little bit of brief summary of what we're going to be doing, an educational process on understanding the cloud. So that's our invite. That's our process. We typically, when we got, our IT guy handles that. I said, well, this is something that IT is not going to tell you. So we had all owners and or CFOs at this function. And it gave a different format, and we brought in a cloud service provider that we're presently using. We had ourselves there, but we pretty much guided and set the pace of the PowerPoint. I'm going to run through the PowerPoint real quick with you. We start with, making the cloud a little less cloudy. So we started off with, hey, what is cloud? And we sat down there and sort of gave the definition of cloud, and we start talking about the various aspects of cloud. Hold on. And, we did it with, as we started talking about the cloud, we went with a format that, we're somewhat known for here at TAG, is that less words, more pictures, and true conversation with somebody so that we're not PowerPointing them to death. And this is where we start talking about the cloud as being a little cloudy, and some of the dangers and some of the things that they have to watch out with cloud services. And that's when we went into everybody's talking about cloud, but everyone has different definitions of cloud, and we went through those various definitions of the cloud. And then, we took this as a business rather than a product sale. And that's the other thing that, was sort of pleasing to hear at the Gartner keynote presentation, is that cloud services have nothing to do with technology. It has to do with business and business applications. And it's really funny is that we know that when we go in and sell phones, how many lines, how many phones, we don't get the sale. But if we go in and sell them applications that actually help their business and sell the application side of our technology, we have a higher probability of success. And that's going to be the same thing that we have with cloud. So we start talking, what is the evolution of cloud? I said, well, how do we get there in the first place? So we went and said, here's the path we're going to go down. We got mainframes, and that's what, 30 years ago, we had a mainframe that what we hold in our hand used to take, 30,000 square feet of space of a mainframe computer. And then we talked about the PC. We talked about how it transitioned to the LAN. Everyone got PCs, and then everyone started connecting the PCs, and we created a LAN. And then we had this LAN, so we had to bring in an IT director on staff. And then we said we could do cloud computing, and we then talked about outsourcing the IT and where we're at and so forth. And then, we talked about the break-fix model of two guys running around in a van with a cell phone handling 20 to 30 accounts. That's 90% of how most companies are provided their what they call outsourced IT. That particular individual could no longer keep up with the flow of technology, the education that's required in the technology, and the new model is what's happening. And then we got, what's happened with rise of MSPs. Our MSPs came in as proactive. It was the first introduction that we're actually being proactive in that we're monitoring and doing device monitoring, leverage mine power remotely. We then go into a preventive maintenance program, problems fixed before customers aware there's a problem, and sort of just said, here's what's happening with MSPs. And then we talked about Pure Cloud. And guys, when we look at what's really going to happen here is it's going to be a real hybrid type transaction where it's going to be part MSP, it's going to be part Pure Cloud, and that's the other thing that Gartner sort of brought home to us. And what made us feel pretty good about this is that this is the presentations that we've been making. We had not read the Gartner, and that's pretty much what they're saying is that, nothing's going to be a pure cloud, nothing's going to be pure MSP, it's going to be a hybrid between those transactions. And that's what we're finding that we're doing already with our customer base. VMware puts servers in the cloud, spin them up, put them out in the cloud. No more new PCs or servers are necessary. All you need is a thin net Citrix, and then we try to understand why we want to use Citrix versus PC, IP, and so forth. We talked about everyone bringing their own device and everything being ran in the cloud itself. And what are the concerns of the cloud? We talked about cloud, is it expensive? Is my data is too critical? And that's one thing we always get. Security and my data is too critical to be out in the cloud. That's the education process that we have to go through, and we show them that with the cloud versus how they're presently doing it, they have less security in the way that they're doing it today versus going to the cloud. Because when you're on cloud with a Citrix connectivity on a 1:1 ratio, what happens is that nothing's residing on the PC. Everything still stays out in the cloud. So downloading and taking that information becomes fairly difficult to do. And if an employee leaves, the next time that they plug into that, it just sucks everything out of their PC. If in fact they have downloaded something and wipes it out, so they get a little bit more security. What do I do if I have on-site help? How does that occur? How do I get customized reporting? So we walk through this, and like I say, we weren't selling anything. All we're saying, here's some of the concerns. Here's what we're hearing our customers talk about, and we then talked about some of the benefits of computing. Flexibility, disaster recovery, automatic software upgrades, all the standard things, and say, well, here's some of the benefits that you get from it. And then we ask questions, and we said, here's the most common questions that we get, and we ask the question, and then we'd answer the question. And so we went through the questions here, and then we just opened it up after these questions. We opened it up to general discussion. And as a general discussion, everyone started talking and so forth. But we ended up with 4 confirmed appointments out of the 9 companies that came there. And we thought that was a pretty good hit. And of those 4 companies, we believe we will get 3 of those 4 companies. One has already given us a verbal, it's a small transaction. And the other 2, we're still working back and forth. But the 2 that we're working on are fairly substantial. One's a CPA firm, and the other one's a security company. And, it seemed to work out pretty well for us. As a result, we now have a new PowerPoint based on input that we got from the first one, and the new PowerPoint will be presented on the October 15th executive briefing. And what we're planning on doing is having an executive briefing about every 8 to 9 weeks, because we know it looks like we can in fact fill the seats with this discussion. And we polled everybody after the transaction, and nobody felt that they were being sold. Everyone felt that it was truly educational. A lot of us go, okay, yeah, we started with mainframe, and we're right back to the mainframe, but the technology is allowing us to partition that mainframe, and it's given us the mobility that we get access to it no matter what piece of product we have, whether it's my phone, my iPad, my Android, my PC, my laptop, no matter where I'm at in the country, as long as I get access, I have access to everything. Now, VoiceSmart itself is now removing all of our servers. We're putting everything out in the cloud. We should have that accomplished in, I think, another 30 days. So we're going to put that out in the cloud, and we're going to put Continuum Continuum desktop support on each employee, and we think that's a real strong combination. So I know that with Continuum, I think we're ranked either 4th or 5th in volume of the tag members. I think by going to the hybrid model that we're going to is pure cloud with Continuum as a help desk background will facilitate a number more of our sales. So we're moving pretty hard, pretty strong, pretty fast into this marketplace. So I'd like to just open this up to questions. Greg, you're doing a fair amount of data. What's your thought process on this, Greg?
Well, certainly that we're kind of at that crossroads right now. I mean, we've kind of been doing it in-house for a long time, and but certainly, we're having to add this type of service to our offering because there's a lot that we're missing out on. We just find a smaller and smaller percentage of our customers are really going to fit the model on how we're doing it right now, which is not so much cloud, just more of a we're using the Enable platform. But right now we're just kind of evaluating a couple of offerings with Continuum and among a couple of others, and at the same time looking to put together an executive technology briefing.
Okay, well, the other thing, and I'm hopefully getting these slides in from Gartner hopefully this week. The other thing that was made very, very apparent is Gartner is saying, you know what, you need to leverage off of an outsourced resource. I mean, you need to be part. You need to play with the continuums. You need to play with the rapid scales. You need to play with the and you need to leverage off of those. As they're saying, there's no reason whatsoever. I mean, she was pretty emphatic about it. When you look at the slides, she's saying that the companies that are going to survive and the reason they're going to survive is that they're going to be able to scale and they'll be more profitable with their scaling with leveraging these outsourced services. So, what was really good is that, the things that TAG has been sort of talking about for a number of years now, Gartner's come out pretty emphatically saying, this is where it's going, this is what's happening. And here's the other thing that they're predicting, and this is the same thing we've been saying, is that eventually all this is going to come out to is all we're going to be doing is selling applications. And here's the application, and here's how you get to it. So the application is going to come down to we as salespeople and business owners are going to have to start looking at our companies that we're doing business with and come in and start providing them solutions that will help increase their profitability, give them competitive advantage from an application standpoint, via that be QuickBooks, via that be Loch Ness, via whatever that software application is going to be, because that's where it's ultimately going to go down to, is that we're going to be the salespeople for a various number of different software applications. That's going to, by the way, is going to be written off of the cloud anyway. So, it's sort of an interesting evolution that's occurring here. But we thought we were pretty successful with this one. We will know by October 15th because we'll have either these deals consummated or not consummated. It allows us to go into our next one that we think we should be able to get 20 companies to it. And our goal is always to have a 50% of the people attending are existing customers, and the other 50% are new potential customers that we've had some contact with and so forth. But it's absolutely critical, guys. If you're going to do this, you've got to use the TAG, marketing program and send out, we like that barking dog. I mean, we got a pretty good response on that one. But you got to get that IT stuff, and you got to get the cloud type services out to your base, and then see who's looking at it, and then immediately get on the phones and let them know, hey, we're going to be doing an executive technology briefing on cloud. Would you have any interest in that? And it's that simple. We don't say, hey, I saw that you were looking at the ad or anything else. You say, hey, we're going to be doing a briefing on the cloud. I just was wondering if possibly you'd have an interest at that. And you know what? Because they've looked at it so many times in their mind, they're thinking about it, and we had a real good, you know what, that looks pretty, we'd like, they'll please, include us into that. No, it's okay. It's going to be, we think right now it's going to be October 15th. I'll get back to you, and then I get a series of how many people we have that are going to be able to do that, and then I send out the invite with another phone call saying, hey, just sent the invite, we've confirmed it, and, you know, we're only going to have, 20 companies there, 10 of our existing customers like yourself, and 10 other companies that we're dealing with. And, you know, it worked out pretty good. Now, and here again, I mean, if we're not doing cloud services and so forth, guys, you know, you can do this and set up the same thing with, you know, SIP. You can set the same thing up with unified communications. I mean, it's the format that you want to be able to do, but it was pretty effective for us.
Disaster recovery.
Yeah, disaster recovery is another one that you could do it with for sure. So, you know, depending upon how you want to do it. But the key here is we really tried to make it educational, and you know, this is our first go at the PowerPoint. As a result of that, I think our second PowerPoint on the same subject is going to be twice as good, because, you know, it's a learning experience based on the information. But everyone walked out of there as if they felt they were a little bit more educated what cloud's all about. And what we did do here, we're going to spend a little bit more time showing the development of what the cloud really is and what people call cloud that really isn't cloud, because cloud's been with us for 30 years. And we're going to start saying, here's the first thing that was really cloud, then it came to this, then it came to this. So we're going to take the transition of where the cloud came from, the same thing we took the transition of the hardware, is that we had a mainframe and a PC, then we connected the PCs, and then we had an IT guy, then that was too expensive, so then we outsourced the IT, and then we went over to MSP, and then MSP, we now hit cloud. Let me show you, and then we're going to do a slide that says, okay, cloud started with, I put a server someplace, you know, in a NOC someplace because I wanted security, I wanted electricity, I wanted bandwidth, and so forth, and then from there, you know, we came up with, Salesforce.com that says, you know, it's a cloud service, web-based. So we had the web-based services going out there, and then sort of bring it through a transition of all the transition and all of the things that are supposedly called cloud that maybe is cloud or maybe isn't cloud, but it gets the definition of cloud. But we're going to start defining that for them in this next presentation, which really will sort of bring this together for everybody. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Any other
Jerry,
questions or comments?
Jerry, I know you've done a number of, or you've done some recent kind of lunch and learns. Any best practices or recommendations you would have for the group?
Well, the one thing I got out of here is I like that executive technology briefing. I mean, lunch and learn is a little bit worn out.
Yep, absolutely.
So I get that. I guess going down the road that Dale's going down, you know, takes you away from being product specific. And of course we use our co-op money, you know, through Zoltus for doing this. So I don't know how they would view if we spend that money on education, because this is more that way. But you know, our biggest issue is getting the customers to the table. You know, we shoot for 3 to 4. You know, due to the size of our boardroom, we don't want really more than 10 people in that room. And you know, every one we're coming up, we get, you know, never really more than 3 customers. And so our approach to the customers has to change a little bit. And I like this education angle, maybe a little bit better than a product angle.
Very good.
So Jeff, any comments from you, Jeff?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're doing some cloud stuff. We're doing it a lot with a company by the name of Glowstream. They're an EMR. Joel is doing a lot with medical practices, you know, physicians, and he's knocking down, I would say, 2 or 3 managed service contracts a month right now, maybe as many as 4. You know, giving us the data, moving their EMR out to the cloud, and then also, you know, rolling in some managed services along with that as well.
Now, this is
I really like your presentation here, Dale. meetings. I really think that if we could get some of these physicians' offices in here and do an executive technology briefing with them, that might help drive some voice sales as well.
Yeah, and you're going to have to do the HIPAA. Here, I love the idea of if you got enough medical companies or doctors that you want to bring in, that would be a really good one for educational. But then you have to bring in the HIPAA. You got to be real careful with HIPAA. What's HIPAA compliant? What isn't HIPAA compliant? And all that kind of stuff. But there's a whole series that we can maybe help you with, putting a slide presentation about trying to, de-cloud HIPAA as far as it relates to this transaction. Because, Amazon says they're HIPAA compliant, which is as much bullshit as you can ever possibly imagine.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so, what I'll do is give me another week here, and I'll send everybody the new PowerPoint that we're going to be using on the 15th. And then if you guys don't mind, maybe let me run through that PowerPoint with you, so it gives me a practice run with all of you, and at the same time we'll kill two birds with one stone.
I would appreciate that. Yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
And actually, I was going to say, actually, we're going to the TAG managed data class next week, so this is it's all coming together at the right time. It looks like for us.
Okay, great. That's work. And Jeff, the company you're using, are they a national company?
They're located in Southfield, Michigan. They do they've got a blend. They've got it where it'll reside on the customer's servers inside their building, and then backed up off-site, and then they've also got cloud-based technology. The name of the company is Glowstream, GLOSTREAM, and Joel's familiar with them. They're good company. They actually pay pretty decent.
Okay, good. I'll definitely look them up. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, guys. If there are any other questions? All right, and then when I get like I said, I'm trying to get the PowerPoint deck from Gartner, and as soon as I get that, I'll share that with everybody also. So, because it was pretty eye-opening. It was pretty done very, very well. All right, I'll catch you guys later.
Right. Yeah. Anything else? Real quick, Dale has to run, but I just want to follow up. We're going to see majority of you out at StarCon. We're looking forward to that. That meeting is really coming together nicely. It's going to be a fantastic meeting. A lot of good presentations from our members. Very good elite presentations. I think we've talked about that, where it's not them just getting up there pitching their own product. It's going to be real good business practices type presentations so we can all learn from them. So looking forward to seeing everybody out there. And I know Steve has been coordinating with you guys and Janet on the dinner for Sunday night. So I know the restaurant's been picked, so look for a couple emails to finalize that for that Sunday night dinner. So once again, looking forward to seeing everybody here in just about a month. Any general comments or questions for the group while we're on the line?
The other thing I was going to mention, if anyone's interested, at 1 o'clock Pacific time today, the Pioneer team, Terry Baldus is one of the top CAs in the country. She's going to talk about why she's been so successful. We gave her an award at TAG as the top customer advocate a couple years ago for selling 131 partner plans in a year. So she will be presenting to her team this afternoon at 1 o'clock. So if anyone is interested, by all means, let me know, and we'll send you the invite information. And AJ in our office recorded this conference call, so we're going to send these out to a couple people couldn't make it, pre-com, as well as Steve. Steve's on vacation. So we're going to send this out to everybody. So if you'd like to share it within your organization, you have the ability to do that as well. So let me know if anyone would like to attend the 1 o'clock, and I'll get that information to you.